Bobbi Althoff came seemingly out of nowhere to all of a sudden being on everyone's feeds on social media. She's had interviews with Drake, Lil Yachty, Mark Cuban, but now her career is at risk of coming to an end, and it's all her fault. Bobbi has one of the most unbelievable rises in podcast history. She came seemingly out of nowhere, from making TikToks about parenthood and being a mother of a kid and delivering mom advice, to all of a sudden start making interviews with Drake. And for those of you that don't know, Drake doesn't really do interviews with people. In fact, he's only done 3 interviews since 2016. So for Bobbi, a TikToker that would talk about problems of being a mom, it seemingly seems so unrealistic to just post a video with Drake, the biggest rapper in the world, of just a DM. And as my job in this channel is figure out and decode financial successes, this is where I get to work. The general consensus is that Bobbi's an industry plant. For those that don't know, let me explain what an industry plant is. An industry plant is a term used in music to describe an artist who suddenly comes to an astronomical rise and starts working with some of the biggest names in history, essentially receiving opportunities and attention that somebody wouldn't normally be able to do in their first few years in the business. And this is where the term industry plant comes from, because people feel like somebody is pulling different strings on the back to get this person to blow up. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just seem bigger than life. So Bobbi's the world's first ever podcast industry plant. Bobbi claims that after making parenting content on TikTok, she started wanting to make interviews with celebrities.
When I started my podcast in April, I wanted to do interviews with celebrities, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. It was really hard to get guests, so I made a video on TikTok saying that I would give $300 to any person who successfully connected me to a celebrity for a podcast. Comedian Rick Glassman ended up being her first guest because a girl tagged him on the video, and he responded with, "Okay, I'll do it." So she sent her $300 and did the episode with Rick Glassman.
Then the same strategy happened with Funny Marco. Bobbi said that her interview with Funny Marco was so good that Drake subscribed and followed her on all platforms. And hey, even though far-fetched, I believe her. I will give her the benefit of the doubt until this point. However, what she says next is extremely unrealistic by mine and many other experts of the industry's knowledge. Rumors would arise that she got her success through her husband. Bobbi is married to Bobbi Althoff, who is a senior vice president in CompTIA and has also been featured in Forbes, and some people even speculate that this connections was what got her into the business of podcasting and got her the interviews with big names. However, Bobbi has said this is not true, and I believe her. But then DJ Academics would reveal that Bobbi actually was signed to WME.
Like, even know that maybe she knows that Drake would respond, because Drake is not responding to every woman. This is where everything else comes into play. So she signed to WME.
So rumors started spreading that WME had planted her and got her the interview with Drake as a favor to WME. However, Bobbi quickly denied this and gave the most unrealistic story I've probably ever heard.
I posted the thing. I got a message from Andrew at WME. He says, like, I'm part of the touring team. Can we talk? I said, okay. And then
so you just didn't meet with anybody else. You're just like, this guy hit you from
first person. Boom.
Well,
so you signed with them after Drake.
Yeah.
Because the plant theory
I know is that they helped
like
me get him.
William Morris signed you.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. They're taking credit for my
they're
you
did it.
I'm sorry to say this, but that's just not how it really works in this world. Offers are usually not made on the same day you get contacted. And you are just not gonna accept a contract of this magnitude the same day a random guy just reached out to you in your DMs. And you're not gonna talk to a lawyer or anyone for that matter. That just seems unrealistic. And look, I like Bobbi. I enjoy her content, but not even scheduling a meeting? That's either the dumbest business move you could ever make or just a plain bald-faced lie. And I'm inclined to go with the second, because I can tell you just by the way she behaves, she's anything but dumb. She has her persona down very well.
Profile picture on Instagram. Is that your dad?
What?
Person on your Instagram page.
It's Lil Wayne.
Who's that?
Stop this.
Who's Lil Wayne?
Stop this.
Can you play me a Lil Wayne song?
There's absolutely no way. I refuse. If you don't know who it is, I won't play it.
It was worth the money.
I
There
hope
was many
one day.
routes I could have took. Could have been way cheaper.
Yeah, how did you find that?
Because I wanted Young Thug's dentist. He had the best veneers
Who's
I ever
that?
seen.
Who?
Young Thug?
Who's that? Does he sing as well as you?
If she had legitimately gone Drake on her own, she would have all the leverage to shop around different talent agencies. But the story behind WME is that they are competing with another talent agency called UTA, aka United Talent Agency. UTA has a lot of the major podcasts under their belt, including DJ Academics, Call Her Daddy, and pretty much every other big podcast out there. UTA essentially has a monopoly over the podcast game, and not even them would sign a girl like Bobbi and put him right up in front of Drake to blow her up, even though they could if they wanted to. But both Drake and Lil Yachty are members of WME. So this is how Bobbi actually got her podcast with Drake on only her 3rd episode. Bobbi was doing great things with Funny Marco. WME noticed WME needs a podcast that has massive numbers to be able to compete against podcasts like Joe Rogan, and they all accorded a deal that works for everybody. Drake probably actually wanted to do the interview with Bobbi since he was a fan of Bobbi. Bobbi obviously wanted to interview Drake because it would give her massive numbers, which it did. And WME gets to have a podcast under their belt that is able to compete against Joe Rogan's podcast. But I highly doubt that this all came from WME DMing Bobbi after Bobbi had DM'd Drake while he was on tour. Because like I said, Drake doesn't really do interviews, much less when on tour. And hey, I'm not making this video to hate on Bobbi or take anything away from her. People hear industry plant and they automatically assume is the most negative term ever out there in the industry. And it is not. To me, it really doesn't matter who you got started with or who's backing you. To me, all that it matters is the content, or are you good? Are you talented at what you're doing? If you're a musician, is your music any good? If you're a podcast, is your podcasting any good? If you're a comedian, is your comedy any good? And look, most people that get over in this world need some financing backing behind them. However, Bobbi's crazy rise is in danger of crashing, and it's all due to her own doing, because she has been alienating her own fan base. It all started with the same interview that blew her up, the Drake interview.
It's Lil Wayne.
Who's that?
Stop this.
Who's Lil Wayne?
Stop this.
Same when she interviewed Lil Yachty.
Who?
Young Thug?
Who's that? Does he sing as well as you?
Yes, these are the same clips I played already, because her character of being awkward worked perfectly for this comment she just made. And even if it rubbed people the wrong way, you can always say that that's her character and it works perfectly for her. Of course she would make that kind of comment. She's playing this character. However, she decided to make an interview out of character on the BFF podcast. And this is where all her previous comments turned back on her.
But I walked into his house and it was super awkward because like he's really kind of awkward, and I've heard that going into it. But me with another awkward person is like, I think it's because you guys are awkward. Maybe that's why. But if you guys are awkward, you guys aren't. Because he was awkward. I walked into his house. He didn't even like say hi to me. So then I was like, said, let's go to the bathroom. So then we go to the bathroom and then we like get out and then he's like, he's just sitting there with like his 2 assistants and he's not even acknowledging that I'm like in the room and my camera guy's like setting up. I'm just sitting there like on my phone, like I'm like trying, and then he comes up, he's like, oh hi, gives me like a half hug and I'm just like hi, then goes back to his spot and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to do this. I'm texting my friend like, Ashley, I need to leave, this is so awkward, I don't want it, like what am I doing?
Bobbi was biting the hand that feeds her without her knowing it. She was given massive opportunities from people that did not need her. Lil Yachty did not need Bobbi to sell thousands of records. Drake doesn't need Bobbi to break streaming records every single time he puts a new album. And Mark Cuban doesn't need Bobbi to become a multi-billionaire. However, you could say the opposite is true. Because honestly, they're doing her a favor. You're going out of your way to go onto her show, and this is how she repays you? However, Drake's tour was coming to town, and naturally, as it happens, she gets VIP tickets because they know each other and they have done a successful interview together. Very common in the business world. But Bobbi decided to post this video off the concert. To To be honest, I find this video hilarious and right on brand for her. However, it came out that there's more to this video than it meets the eye. They would both unfollow each other on Instagram, and Bobbi would delete Drake's interview video with more than 10 million views. People online went nuts. This is how you pay him back? But hey, she got the attention by posting this clip. She went viral. And to be honest, who's to say that she didn't pay Drake when Drake was in town?
Hey, yo!
Ivana's like, I heard that Bobbi slept with Drake and is getting divorced, so I asked her. I DM'd Bobbi.
What? You asked her, did you sleep with Drake and are you getting a divorce?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not commenting on that publicly.
Wait, so you just outed her?
Oh.
You just outed her not public comment?
This is what Bobbi was getting accused of, and she quickly denied it. However, she had to go the extra mile. She said that she never wanted to do the podcast in the first place. She hated all the backlash and posted the actual DMs on her Instagram story. And I'm definitely not saying that she Drake and that's why she's getting divorced, but I am saying that something definitely happened. However, at the time of recording, only both of them know. Will guests keep wanting to come into her interviews? I will use Offset as an example. She recently made an interview with Offset. If Offset asked her in the interview if she could name 3 songs that Offset has been a part of, or even 3 songs that the Migos have put out, Bobbi probably wouldn't be able to tell you 3 songs. And Offset knows this, but everybody saw the Drake interview. So it just gives you a lot of clout to be able to go in that interview and get interviewed by her. Because the likelihood is you will go viral as well if you're Offset. And even if she talks trash behind your back after the interview, it would have been worth it. In podcasting, the audience usually is from the guest rather than from the podcast host, generally speaking. Yes, there are people that will watch every single Joe Rogan show out there, but there are also people that will only watch when The Undertaker's on the Joe Rogan show or when Liver King's on the Joe Rogan show. And that's what Bobbi's doing. She's interviewing a lot of rappers, bringing a lot of the rap audience into her podcast. However, if she's relying on people like her, people that enjoy the dry humor and just come to watch the dry humor, she will have a core fan base that won't go away, but all the rappers will stop coming in to her podcast because they don't want that image out there of people being unamused at their concerts. And to be honest, I give her 1 year. A year from now, I think the novelty would have worn off. The people that like her will stick with her. But a year from now, I don't think she'll be interviewing any hip hop people. But if this is the end for her, this has to be the fastest rise and fall in podcast history. One of the fastest rise and falls in the boxing world is Don King's empire, how he scammed millions of dollars of boxers like Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. So consider clicking this video right here to see how it all happened. Or click this video right here, which YouTube thinks is the best video for you. I'll see you in the next video. See ya!
Isn't that what rich people do to avoid taxes? By heart.
I wouldn't know.
Why? Because you're not rich. You're wearing earrings that are really obnoxiously big.